We're live. Hello. Is everybody there? Is anybody there? I'm waiting for numbers. I'm trying not to make this Wonder Woman thing look weird. I see that we're live, so I'm just waiting for people. I have a dog. Oh, there's people now. Yay. Hi, everybody. Welcome. My name's Ariana Jarrett, and I'm one of the editors here at YourTango, and here to talk to you about any questions you have about love, sex, relationships, kinky sex, fetishes, divorce has been coming up a lot, trust. Alex, you're calling me a hoe. I'm not a hoe. I'm Wonder Woman. It's not a nice thing to call on Amazon. It's not smart either, I don't think, really. Hi, Myra. I'm glad you're here. Hi, Christopher. I'm not sure how long Wonder Woman's going to stay with us tonight. Oh, Alex, you meant to say hi, and it looked like ho. I'm sorry. I thought it was just what you were saying, because you'd be surprised what people feel like they can say here. It's kind of a little bit crazy. So hi, Guillermo. Hi, Chad. Hi, Kim. I give a few people time to say hi before I jump into any questions, and I'll just explain a little bit who I am. You might be used to seeing either Becca, who's here on Tuesday and Thursday nights, and Joanna's here on Wednesdays. I see Sarah, Linda, Melissa, Terry, Dennis. Oh, Dennis has a question already, so we can jump to that. And just before I start, I'm an editor at YourTango. I have an MSW, so technically I'm a social worker, but nothing we talk about tonight, and I was also a divorce mediator for 7 years, but nothing we discuss tonight is going to be considered, you should not consider it therapeutic advice or legal advice or counsel. We're just shooting the shit and talking and, answering each other from the heart. And the more all of you take part and get involved, the better. So that would be great if you all participate. So let me go back. So Dennis had a question. Oh, Janine said the flashing thing is distracting. I'm going to turn it off in just a minute, Janine. I can see it. I understand. I'm kind of liking it, but then I'm going to turn it off in a second after I find Dennis's question. Where are you, Dennis, and your question? I'm going back to find it. There we go. 6 months talking, 1 dinner. Now what? So I'm going to kind of extrapolate from that. I'm going to guess that what you mean is that, now that I'm answering questions, I am going to turn off Wonder Woman. As much fun as she was, I just saw the movie today, and I have to say it was pretty amazing. But there we go. It's just me, so I can answer questions. So Dennis, I'm thinking you mean that you guys have been talking and that you've gone to dinner one time, but nothing else has happened. And I would say, there's a chance that she's sitting there wondering what else is going to happen. Because, as much as women can and should take the lead when they want to now, a lot of times, we do look to the man to kind of make the next step. So I'm either going to assume that you haven't done that yet, in which case you should. Or if you have done that, if you've asked her out again and she's been putting you off and not responding for 6 months, I'm going to say move on, because people don't do that if they're really, really interested after just one dinner. So that would be that question. I'm going to scroll back a little because I saw some more. Kim Stevenson said, are me and Mike going to be together? And I wish I was a fortune teller, but I'm not. And so I don't, if you want, Kim, if you want to, I would love to answer your question. So if you have more specific details about what's going on between you and Mike, then hopefully I can help you, or you can tag Mike and say, hey, Mike, that would be amazing for all of us to watch right now. Is if you feel comfortable and you want to tag Mike and say, hey, Mike, are we ever going to be together? Now's the time to tell me. Then that would be pretty awesome to see what he says. Maybe we could even talk it all through together. So that could be fun. Oh, somebody asked why my forehead kept blinking. I was being Wonder Woman for a little while. So, it was just fun. Brian Jenkins, hello, good evening. Good evening to you, Brian Jenkins. So Lori says, are swinger, oh, Brittany, I turned off the filter. It's gone, bye-bye. Lori said, are swingers safe? So I'm gonna assume you mean swingers as in couples who have, you know, they go to play parties and they have sex with other couples and have an open relationship. But with swingers, it's typically, everybody's different, but it's typically an open relationship where the couple goes together to play, you know, have sex or sexual interactions with other couples, and they do it as a thing that they share. You know, like instead of going to like a hiking club, they go to sex parties. So that's what they do. My experience, the people that I know who are swingers and who are really involved in the swinger community are the most well-educated and conscientious and honorable group of people as far as their conversations around sexuality and their actual practices that I know. They're very much, you know, concerned and aware about STIs and make sure to get tested regularly and disclose to each other. And, you know, there's so much communication that goes on in that community just because of the fact that, you know, the couple themselves first have to be able to communicate, and then to keep everybody enjoying things and happy and positive, they have to all be talking with each other, right? So, you know, are there bad apples in any group of people at all? Sure, absolutely. But I would say, if you're talking about as a group, and if you're talking about safety from a safer sex perspective, I would say that on the whole, you're talking about one of the most careful and respectful and knowledgeable populations of people that I know of. So I'm going to say any one of them potentially could be unsafe, but as a whole group, I would never think of them as anything but really safe and conscientious. Okay, let's move on. LA said, hi ma'am, I'm in LA. Shout out. I'm in LA too, so shout out to you. Let's see. Grass says, I have a boyfriend that's asking me to pay for gas and cigarettes, like needy. What should I do? Well, I'm going to say that that's like any other friendship or relationship in general in your life. You know, I think it's how much of a give and take is there? You know, is he asking you for money, those things, because he truly can't afford them, or because he just doesn't feel like he wants to spend his own money on that stuff? Is he the kind of guy who goes to the store and picks you up what you need? Does he do things for you too? Are you guys, you know, maybe he doesn't make as much money as you, but he's super supportive of you and, you know, in day-to-day life. But if he's trying to get you to pay for all of his gas and cigarettes, and he just kind of is like this lazy dude who doesn't do anything or doesn't feel like using his own money, and he's making you feel used in other ways, then, I mean, to me, that's a really big red flag and a time to say goodbye. I don't see anything good coming of that, and I have to imagine it probably doesn't make you feel really, you know, great. And you know what? There are some women, just like there are some men, who love that. You know, they want the person who they're in a relationship to rely on them financially or for whatever else. And so there, I'm sure, are women who'd be like, oh yeah, like I get off on the fact that I pay for his shit, you know? But if you feel that way, I'm guessing if you did feel that way, you wouldn't ask the question. So I'm thinking your gut probably already knows that he's using you. And that's such a hard thing to admit, but I would look at that really carefully, because if he's using you just for that, then I can't imagine that there's much else that is going to be good that comes with that relationship. So good luck with that. Let's see. Chad said, is it wrong that I want to have a friendship relationship, then start the steps upward? So I'm going to guess that and what you mean is that you'd rather get to know somebody as friends before you get romantic with them. And, you know, that's a mixed bag, you know, because I think at a certain point, like, I don't really believe in the friend zone theory. You know, I really don't think that if you have an attraction that's mutual with somebody and then you're friends for too long for whatever reason, then you stop being attracted to them. And actually, there's a writer, Joellen Note, who has a great article she wrote about that, about, you know, the friend zone isn't a thing, so stop talking about it. And, you know, what she says in the article is that the friend zone is really just a way of nicely saying, I'm not into you. So my point, you know, for you, Chad, is that I don't think there's a concern that you'll end up in the friend zone. On the other hand, you could end up in a position where she gets, you know, frustrated and she gets sick of waiting around to see if it's going to be more. And I think you're just going to need to practice really good, clear communication to make sure that a woman knows, listen, I am interested in you as more than a friend. I just want to have a solid friendship first, and then define what that means. You know, do you know even for yourself what that means for you? So when you say you want to have a friendship relationship first, I mean, I don't really know why it has to be one or the other, to be honest. You know, I mean, I think my opinion is that the best sex is with somebody who you can laugh and have fun with, you know, even during those moments, even during the sexual moments. So why wouldn't you also want to be, you know, friends with them and doing, you know, going to movies or playing mini golf or, you know, going to bars and hanging out and doing whatever you might do with your friends at the same time as you're not, you know, necessarily rushing into things sexually, but that you're exploring the romantic side too. You know, I don't know why it really has to be a black and white one or the other, but I would just make sure that you know what it means to you to develop a friendship and what it would take for you for that to then move over. Like, at what point would you be comfortable making that romantic so that she kind of knows, you know, what's potentially going on. Otherwise, I think, you know, you could send a message, a really strong message that you don't intend to send, which is, he's just not interested in me, so I'm going to move on. And that's where, see, I don't think it would be the friend zone. What I think it is she might get over it, which is different than the friend zone is meant to be. So, yeah, just make sure she really knows where you do think it might be going. Let's see. Oh, Chloe said much prettier now. Oh, probably without Wonder Woman. Thank you, but it was fun. I liked it for a minute. Let's see. Mohammed said it's 4:39 a.m. in Egypt, and I'm here. Oh, well, it is so early. Why are you on Facebook? Go back to sleep for a little bit. You can watch it later. No, I'm glad you're here. You can stay and watch. Like, ask me a question, because that's really early. So I at least want to answer your question for you. Let's see. Kim said, saw Wonder Woman last night. It was good. I thought it was seriously one of the most amazing. This is not like a movie review show, but I have to say, like, it's only been a few hours, but I'm a little obsessed right now. And I saw it with my son, and it was so cool. Oh, you know, my son is 9. He just turned 9. And watching this movie with a little kid who knows everything and anything about DC and Marvel and has to explain all those universes to me all the time. And yesterday when I told him that some of the editors here had said that the movie was really good, he was like, oh, finally DC has a good movie. It's been forever, which I guess is what's out there in the news, but I hadn't seen that. To see him just as engaged and excited and having as much fun watching this movie with the female as a superhero was amazing. I mean, there were just so many layers of amazing to it, and like what we take for granted when we think about gender norms, and we think, well, you know, girls will probably feel good about a movie with a female superhero, but, you know, are the boys going to like it anyway? And, oh my, like, it didn't matter. Like, there were people being killed, like, there were people being hit and beat up, there were guns being shot, there were arrows being flung, there were people jumping across buildings in a single bound. You know, he was happy as could possibly be. So I'm going to leave the rest of the, you know, feminism discussion for Joanna on Wednesday nights, but I am definitely going to recommend that movie to anybody of any gender and any age. It was phenomenal. Let's see. Barbara said, "Go away, you silly old tart." I don't know what to make of that. So, I mean, I know I should ignore it, but I'm just trying to think about, like, the tart thing, because I like sweet and soury stuff, but I'm not old per se, you know, so I'm just gonna leave it. I have to watch my angle, maybe, I don't know, we'll see what happens. Let's see, how are my knees going to be? I don't know. I feel like there's another fortune teller question, and I wish that I could answer it, but I can't. All right, LA said, "I have a girl, I do everything for him, but she left me anyway." Well, you know, first of all, however much you do for somebody or take from somebody isn't necessarily going to indicate how long your relationship's going to last. You know, I mean, first of all, she might have been letting you do everything for her because she was using you. You know, just like, sorry, I'm blanking on the name already, but the woman who asked the question about the boyfriend who wants her to buy the cigarettes and the gas. You know, maybe that's really all she was there for, was because you were doing everything for her. And maybe you didn't take the time, like, before you started doing everything for her, did you take the time ever to stop and make sure that she was somebody you wanted to do everything for? Because I know a lot of us, I'm like this, you know, I'm a people pleaser, and I like being in relationships where I can be doing stuff for people, and it makes me feel good. And I really have to take a step back and make sure that I have, you know, made sure that this person is worthy of my giving all of that before I give it. You know, you can't, and I don't mean worthy in some kind of like a haughty way, like, are you, you know, at my level or any of that kind of bullshit. Like, I hate all that bullshit about, like, you know, if you're a 9, you know, you only date people who are 7s and 8. Like, I don't mean worthy in terms of anything other than the respect and treatment that you get from that person as well. And so, you know, there's a chance that that was what was going on. There's a chance that there were just other things, you know, in her life. And I'm sorry that happened, but, you know, I just think it's a good chance to step back and look at, okay, so next time before I do that giving, you know, that wonderful giving to somebody, I'm going to make sure that I know that this is somebody to be, you know, to be giving to. And, you know, I would start with giving bits instead of giving everything right away, you know, like let it build over time. So Kyle said, "How do I go about moving on after a narcissist abusive marriage of 17 years?" That is so tough, Kyle, and I'm so sorry that you've been in that position and that you've had that experience. And you know, I don't know the degree of abuse that went on in your marriage, but you know, there is a chance that you have some PTSD, that you're, you know, post-traumatic stress disorder that you might be suffering from along the way. You know, you could be, a lot of people who've had an emotionally abusive relationship have, you know, have nightmares, have flashbacks, have, you know, you get triggered by things that remind you of that person. And we tend to think of PTSD as something that, you know, somebody who's been a victim of some horrific incident suffers from. That's somebody who was a rape victim, or some other kind of a violent crime victim, or somebody who was in war and is a veteran. You know, we think of PTSD in terms of those experiences for people. But there's another I don't know if it's technically a form. I don't think it's not classified in the DSM yet. But it's called complex, CPTSD, complex PTSD, which is PTSD that occurs over a period of time of being abused. So if you look at, if you think about it the way you would think about physical abuse, and somebody came by and they just like smacked you on the head every single day, and sorry for the squeaking, it's my dog. Each little tap in and of itself might not be considered so incredibly brutal or damaging, but if it was a wall and you kept tapping it every single day and day after day after day, it's gonna get worn away, and you're gonna cause changes to it. And there are actually changes that can occur in your brain from the psychological trauma as well as the physical trauma that people suffer. And so I think that's just something to recognize and help yourself just understand that it's not just that you're, we have this weird thing in our society right now about victim mentality and how nobody's supposed to be a victim. And yeah, I mean, you're a survivor, but you were a victim, and there's nothing wrong or shameful about that. And it doesn't make you not strong, and it doesn't mean that you can't, rebuild, or that you can't be a survivor. I don't know why people are laughing at that, but it doesn't mean that you can't then recover even better, So I would look at that as something where it's like, acknowledge, like, yeah, you were treated horribly and you need to heal, and then do what you need. Sometimes just recognizing like, oh yeah, maybe there's something bigger going on, with me based on having suffered through that. It doesn't end the second you walk out of the marriage. It could inspire you to then find some kind of, very specific help for that. So, there are therapists who specialize in something called, it's EMDR, which is eye movement rapid desensitization, I think it stands for. There's, somatic therapy. There are all kinds of treatment out there that you can get. And so I would, try doing a search after this for CPTSD. And if you're not already in therapy, I would definitely suggest that. A lot of people like support groups for it. I'm not a big support group fan for myself because I'm a major introvert, but it is supposed to be really, really helpful for people with PTSD. And just, I think the more that you talk about it with people, not over talk it, but you find other people who've been through it, and you just have that support network of people who can, get it when you feel just, you're having a bad day about it, and aren't, saying to you like, oh, move on already. Why aren't you over it? You should be over it. The more you have a few people like that around, I think that is, extremely helpful too. So hopefully you can do that. I'm just going to move my clock so that I know when I am getting close to my time when I should leave you guys alone. Okay, so let's see. Elliot said, I'm too sad right now. That was back about the girl who, was just using him. And, I get that. You can be too sad. Give yourself time to be sad. But if, just, to think about when you are ready to go back and think about that thing about how you were valuing yourself and what you were giving somebody before you gave it. Eric Hoffman said, how are ya? Hi, Eric. I remember you were here before. It's nice to see you. Tasha said, hello from Idaho. Hi, Idaho. Fabian said, find a better man who appreciates your womanly talents. So there you go. I think that was probably, well, there have been a few women who I think could take that advice who've been on here, and, vice versa. Vicky Sue says, hello. Irving said, so you help, huh? But yeah, that's a question if you want me to help. So I don't know what you want me to help with. Lisa said, how do I stop being triggered by little things my new boyfriend does that remind me of my abusive ex? Well, it's hard to do. And what I find to be really, really helpful is if you give yourself, seriously, write down for yourself 1 to 2 sentences that are going to be, you know, if you're cool with the word mantra, if that feels too woo-woo, you can just call it like your life sentence, whatever. Well, life sentence, that sounds horrible. It's like marriage, right? You know, your new way of thinking, your untriggering phrase, whatever you want to call it. But so I would write down this 1 to 2 lines where when you feel that you're being triggered because he's reminding you of your abusive ex, not because he's actually being abusive. And that's a big distinction to make, because you might be being triggered because it is abusive behavior as well. So first of all, I would be really careful to just examine that a little bit, not in the moment, but you probably remember a few times when you've been triggered, and just take a look at that and just make sure, because it's really natural, you know, the kinds of relationships that you've been in for a long time, they start to feel familiar, and it's natural to fall back into those patterns again. So if you figured out that you're being triggered by something, but it's not actually that he's being abusive, then you have your 1 to 2 sentences, which are basically along these lines, where you say, you know what, this is not about, I'm going to say that your ex is named Robert. This isn't Robert. This is Tom. Tom's your new guy, just so you know. You know, this isn't Robert. This is Tom. Okay, so there's your 2 sentences. And every time you feel yourself triggered, you don't need to say it to him, because he's probably not going to love hearing Robert's name. But you say to yourself, it's not Robert, it's Tom. And you just repeat it in your head as many times as you need to until that moment where you're feeling triggered passes. And you can also do that with things like when somebody's making you feel they've triggered something where your ex used to make you feel like it was your fault, and you don't want to keep feeling like things are your fault all the time. You can say, it's not about me, it's about what they're talking about, right? It's not about me, it's about them. And use that to keep yourself calm too. And so, you know, think about maybe a few different instances where you've been triggered, and think about what would have helped you in that moment. What do you, now that you're not triggered, because usually if you get triggered, once those feelings subside, you're able to look at it clearly again and be like, oh, that wasn't this, it was that. So now that you can step back and think about it calmly, think of what it really wasn't and what it really was, and use that as the framework for your 2 sentences. And what happens is, at first you kind of forget to do it, and that's why I said to have it written down somewhere, because maybe the first time after this you get triggered, you are in the moment and you forget, oh, Ariana told me to have these 2 sentences and I had them written down and I didn't use them. That's okay. So now go back and read them again and say them in your mind then, and slow it down then. And then it'll be that much easier in the moment next time to remember. And then it sort of becomes second nature, and you'll find that you'll be doing it more and more naturally. And you might need to come up with different ones at different times when you're not expecting it. And that's okay, but you get in the habit of coming up with those phrases, and that can be really, really helpful. So I hope that helps. Let me know. I'd love to know if it helps you. Terry says that he's available for all the single ladies who want to try. I don't know where he's located, but it's probably not smart to necessarily start sending messages, but I'm sure Terry's lovely. I don't know. Can't say. Can't speak for him. Can't vouch. Brandon says my favorite, but I don't know what we're talking about, so thanks. Linda says hi. Hi to Lisa Wyatt. Mandy said, sure, I got one bad apple, but I don't know. I guess you can go to the store and buy more good apples, because I don't know what it's about. Kaza said hi to you, wondering about my health. Again, maybe it was the Wonder Woman thing, but I can't tell fortunes for people, unfortunately. Lori said, thank you. You're welcome. Let me know how it goes, for sure. Chad said, Lisa Garcia, tell him what triggers you wrongly. I mean, yes and no. I mean, I think, yes, for sure, let him know, hey, you know, this kind of thing triggers me. And so I'd like you to be aware of that, and please try not to do it. But I also want you to know that I'm aware of it. And so I know that it's not necessarily you being abusive. It's just it's sending me back to something else. But, you know, I don't feel like it's other people's job in the relationship to make sure that you're okay all the time. You know, it's one of the reasons I'm cool with certain trigger warnings on certain types of content, certain types of videos and certain types of articles. But I feel like we become so trigger warning conscious right now that we're not, that's where I think the whole victim mentality thing becomes problematic for so many people, because we have to remember that no matter what we've been through, it doesn't give us the right to then treat other people badly. And I know, like, I've been through some serious shit. I've been through some really crappy shit. And I've therefore treated other people really shitty when I've been stuck in a place where I was thinking about the person who treated me bad. And I was wrong, because they're not that person, right? So I try as best I can to go back and apologize and let them know for sure, yeah, look, it triggered this, not as an excuse, but as an explanation. I think there's a big difference between an excuse and an explanation. And so when you're talking about it, I would say, keep in mind as you're speaking that what you're doing is you're offering explanations. You're not offering excuses for bad behavior. And you're sharing information about yourself. You're sharing knowledge about yourself. You're getting to know who each other are. But nobody should have to feel like they have to walk on eggshells around you all the time. You know, sometimes you just have to kind of clean up your own eggshells and realize that you were the one who dropped it in the first place. So I would add that part to it. Liam said, love your post, which I assume you mean YourTango, and thank you. I think we have a great site. Love it. Love working here. Best thing ever. Terry said, shout out from Notre Dame in South Bend, Indiana. Oh, so now people know where you are, Terry. So I don't know. Terry, if you get the hookup from this, and if you end up like married or something, I think you owe me. So, you know, good luck. I hope it works. Thomas said, hi, sweet one. Hi, Thomas. Let's see. Mandy said, think my guy's playing. Oh, I think this is what you mean about the bad apple. I think my guy's playing away from home. I'm in the UK. Well, I don't really have enough information to say if you're right or wrong, but if you think that he is, then there's definitely some kind of a problem in communication between the two of you guys, you know, or some kind of a lack of trust. And whether that's on your end or his end, it's definitely something that you should look at and explore. And so, you know, I would say that it's worth having a conversation with him about, and just saying, hey, I feel like I think that you might be cheating, or playing away from home, if that's what they say in the UK, and see how he reacts. And if it's a, you know, good relationship, a solid relationship, I think you should be able to have those conversations and talk those things through. And maybe in the course of the conversation, you'll figure out what it is that's making you feel insecure, or maybe you'll figure out that you really do have reason to feel insecure because, yeah, he's playing away from home, you know. And if you continue to feel uneasy whether or not he actually is cheating, there's obviously some unhealthy communication going on that's not working for you. So I would definitely explore that part of it for sure. Let's see. Is it Meg? Watching from the Philippines. Love your post. Thank you. I'm sorry I can't pronounce your name because I'm not really sure, but I really appreciate it. I would love to be able to do that. Let's see. Brandon says hi from Illinois. Mohammed says, why I don't feel to get down to my new girlfriend. Been time I don't feel to go down to any girl. I used to like it and used to have it for a long time. What's wrong with me? Okay, so it sounds like, so Mohammed, so you used to like going down on women and now you have a new girlfriend and you don't feel like it now. And so you want to know why you don't like it anymore. And that, you know, it could be particular to your relationship. Maybe, I don't know, do you feel like she's selfish and so therefore you don't feel like giving her pleasure in that way? Is it something where you don't, like, in general, you're sort of not as into it anymore? Maybe, you know, you're getting, I mean, I can't even see from your picture here because I have contacts on and really bad vision. I can't even see how old it looks like you even are, but it could be with age. Maybe your libido is slowing down and there's different reasons that you're not that into it. Is she not reactive when you're, you know, in a good way, when you're down there and she's not showing you that she's having a good time? I mean, I think you're the one who really inside of you knows what it is you're not liking about it. So if you're still totally into having sex and totally into everything else about her, and it's just not going down on her, that is interesting to you, then, I mean, first of all, I'd find out how important that is to her, because for some women, that would be a deal breaker, and for some women, some women don't like it, some women don't want it, so I would just have a conversation with her about it and see how maybe you can make it more fun. You know, you could try some flavored lube or some jelly, or I don't know, maybe there's something else that you can try down there that would make it more fun, or 69, or something that would make it more mutually enjoyable. But I have a feeling that you know what it is that you're not liking about it, and so the key is really just be honest with yourself. And if it's her, then maybe it's time to move on. Let's see. Chad said, yep, I said that because I've been hurt a lot. You know, we've all been hurt a lot. It's really, it's hard not to, you know, feel certain ways after being hurt. But I think it's great that you can acknowledge that. And I think that that's what's really important. And that's the key to any good communication and good relationships. You can't really have a solid relationship with somebody else. I'm not big on all of these self-help. Like, I don't love the whole love yourself thing. I find that really complicated and confusing, and a lot of times victim blamey. But there's a difference between, you know, the loving yourself part and the knowing and accepting yourself. You know, our CEO just put out this new book called Radical Acceptance. And to me, like, that's the exact distinction, is that it's about accepting who you are, and in doing that, really, you know, loving yourself that way by accepting yourself. And I think that really does encompass what love is, right? Is the acceptance. And if there's something you can't accept about somebody, then that's not bad about them or bad about you. It's just not the right match. And if there's something you can't accept about yourself, then it's time to look at that and fix it. And so, you know, I think as long as you're able to self-reflect like that, Chad, I think that that's a great sign for you in general. KT wrote, hello, I'm recovering drug addict, sober since January 20th, but my depression is driving my fiance away slowly. I feel, how can I let her know, besides telling her that she is my biggest support through this process? I feel like my depression keeps bringing her down, and I don't want to be a burden to her. You know, I mean, I think that the number one thing for you, Katie, is your sobriety. Bottom line, right? That's the most important thing right now. And it's still fairly fresh. And I don't know if you go to AA or any other kind of a program like that, but I think that, you know, if she's willing to go to Al-Anon, whether or not you're doing AA, and maybe find some support hearing other people's stories about what their experience is and what they're going through, then that potentially could be helpful. But the other question I would have for you is, you know, it says that she's your fiance. So I'm going to guess, although I obviously don't know, that you've probably known her since well before you became sober. And, you know, sometimes there are people who are in your life when you're not sober who like that unsober party person you are, or whatever it is, that part of you that you are when you're drinking or using or whatever it is that you're doing. And, you know, it could be as hard as it would be, and as much as I don't want to encourage you to do anything that would really, you know, shift your situation strongly right now, it could be worth looking at, was she in love with the not sober you? And can she actually handle sober you? You know, because I think, look, depression is a hard thing, and people who go through depression feel guilty enough about it, and about what's going on in their life. And you've just, you know, made this major life change that saved your life, you know? And so if somebody is not able to support that, and you're going to get married, I mean, before I got married, somebody who I knew who was older, who had married somebody much older than her, sat down with me and said something along the lines of, you know, do you love him enough to stay with him even if he had a stroke next week and was completely incapacitated? And that was based on her own personal experience. And so sitting there as this 20-something person, I just said to myself, you know, in my ego, like, okay, she's talking about her stuff, so I'm not even going to listen to this, really. But looking back on it, she was spot on. It was brilliant. It was her stuff. It was what she went through, and she did love her husband enough that she stayed with him through that. But you do need to love the person you're going to marry enough and be loved by that person enough that you would both withstand anything together, because life only gets harder and better, but harder and better and harder and better and up and down and all around. And so before you get married, I mean, this was my driving point from last week, and I feel like I should just have a banner saying this every week, but work these things through before you get married, because chances are, hopefully you're going to stay sober, but even if you overcome your depression for a point in time, you're probably going to be depressed again at some point. Who isn't? It may not rise to the level of a clinical depression, but it may. It may. And if it does for you or it does for her, the other one needs to be able to handle that, you know? And so I would have a really serious conversation about that. See if you can find help, like I said, in Al-Anon or in therapy or some kind of a counseling session, and, you know, go slow with it all and be careful. But, you know, you're taking really important steps to take good care of yourself, and make sure that she's part of the way that you're taking care of yourself would be, you know, what I would really hope that you do with that. Okay, so let's see. Gerald said, hello, friend. Hi, Gerald. Thanks for coming back. It's so nice to start seeing people who are here all the time, so I really appreciate that. Let's see. Oh, Grouse said goodbye, and she's going to let him go. There you go. There you go. Let us know how it goes. Let's see. Oh, Terry said I'm beautiful. That's really sweet, Terry. Thank you. George Lindy said, do you give advice on lesbian love? I mean, I don't feel like I give advice on lesbian love or hetero love or bi love or pansexual love or trans love. Like, love is love as far as I'm concerned. And I know that there are differences, and I know that there are distinctions. I'm obviously not clueless, but, you know, I'm happy to answer any question from anybody of any gender or sexual orientation or anything of the above. Angelica said, hello, YourTango, my first time watching. So good to see you. Hope you come back. Paul Reed, see another one. Good to see you, Paul. Steve said drama, which, yep, there's lots of drama in the world. Jeffrey wrote something to KT saying, KT, addiction is dangerous. Always find another way to feed into your addiction by replacing it with something else you enjoy, for instance. Make her a part of it, something you both enjoy, and you'll lose her. So I think Jeff's advice to KT seems to be find something that you both enjoy doing together and see if that helps, which, you know, for sure, for any relationship, I think the more you can find things that you can do together, and, you know, for sure, if KT, if you're feeling like you're kind of stuck in a rut, that would be a great thing to do. Oh, Chad said, tell my 9-year-old happy birthday. I will, thank you. That's very sweet. Linda said, hi. I've been dating this guy who lost his wife, and I also lost my husband. I've been married for 10 years and new to this dating. How do I know if he is only dating me for sex and then leave? Guess you don't ever know. Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of it. You don't ever know. So, I think that you just have to go with, what are you looking for? I mean, you were married for 10 years. That's a long time. And I don't know how long he was married. And you're both suffering a major loss. And, it's kind of like that after a divorce. Like, one thing I learned to make a rule for myself that I've violated, but whatever, there's a reason that I made it a rule, is not to ever date guys who are in their time where they're still separated and the divorce isn't final, because there's so much that goes up and down during that time, and their emotions are so unstable that you pretty much know it's not going to really go anywhere serious. But at the same time, if you're not looking for something serious or long term, then, and you enjoy spending time with them and enjoying their company, then no harm, no foul. So, Linda, one thing I would say to you is, do you need to be immediately in a brand new, committed till the end of time relationship? Or maybe you have some exploring to do. So, I feel like if you go into every new dating experience knowing it potentially could be the most amazing thing ever, and it potentially could crash and burn tomorrow, and you're just going to enjoy each moment as you have it, then, nobody can really do anything that, not that you can't be hurt, of course you can be hurt, but, it's like they say the best way to ensure a bad outcome is to have expectations. I think just try to have as many, as few expectations as possible, and then just enjoy yourself. And if you feel like having sex, have sex and enjoy the sex. And if he leaves the next day, then his loss, go find somebody else, and if you don't feel like having sex, don't have sex just because you think that he'll leave if you don't, so I would say just stop worrying about what he might do so much and worry more about what you want in each moment. Let's see. Chad asked, was Wonder Woman better than the TV show Xena Warrior Princess? I never once watched an entire episode of Xena Warrior Princess. I never even watched a portion of an episode. So I cannot help. Sorry. George said, okay, you can't help. Thank you anyway. Okay. I'm sorry you feel that way, George, but I don't know what to tell you. Let's see. It's getting late, so I'm going to take a look and see if there's any other questions. Thomas, Delise, I have to tell you, I have zero interest in playing with your gun. And now, even if I met you and thought that you were even more attractive than Chris Pine was in that movie right now, today that I saw, I'd want it even less. I don't know what to tell you. Okay, let's see. Chad, women shouldn't be afraid to be strong for herself and her kids if she has kids. Absolutely, that's for sure. Anita said, I've been seeing this guy off and on. We've been, I think that's intermittence. Should I tell him I'm starting to have feelings for him? Yeah, if you're starting to have feelings for him, then I don't know if you want to come right out with the whole, first of all, I wouldn't do the let's have a talk thing at all. I just think, it's the same thing. Like, I feel like people kind of know. I think you kind of know if he has feelings for you too or not, if you're questioning it. And so I'd want to know, I guess, why you want, I think you'd want to know, why do you want to tell him that you have feelings for him? I think sometimes women, me included, so I'm not, Anita, this is with absolute respect for you. I think sometimes women say things like that because we want to hear it back. And it's a way of sort of like unconsciously from our end trying to control the situation and like get that reassurance that he's feeling it too. And the truth is, you probably have a sense of whether he's feeling it or not. And he's going to tell you when he does or not. So, you know, if it's like a natural part of the conversation where you're hanging out and you just say something like, gosh, I love spending time with you so much. I love being with you. Like, it's just an expression, like as a compliment. Like, I think you can give plenty of compliments without ever give him the impression, right, of how you're feeling, without having to force him into that kind of a deep conversation about feelings. So I'd be curious to know how that goes. If you kind of chill on it a little bit, and instead of actually telling him, I have feelings for you, you just make it known in the way that you speak to him and the way that you compliment him. I'm gonna have to wrap it up, so I'm just gonna look really quick and see if there's another question. And what I will do is, after this show is over, I will go through and see if I missed any of the questions to put them on my like note deck for next time. And if I missed it and maybe I don't see it, or you want to make sure, you want to explain it better, you think of something else afterwards, you didn't ask because you felt uncomfortable, maybe you don't want your name out there asking a question, you want to be anonymous, you can send me an email at Arianna, which is ARIANNA at YourTango.com, and just let me know in the body of the email if you want it to be an anonymous question or not, and I will try to get to it next week if I missed it. But I would love to have those in the beginning. So let's see. Andrew said, can I ask you a question? Yes, that's why I'm here. I got a text from my ex-girlfriend today. I'm kind of surprised by it, but she wants me back, is very positive. Wait, Andrew, is this the same girl we were talking about last time? I feel like I want to go back to that and ask you about it next week to make sure if it was right, if I'm thinking of the same one. But I'd also, like, I'd be very careful about ever, like, the getting back thing, because you really need to know, like, is she just lonely? I'd walk very slowly and carefully into ever taking those I want to get back messages from an ex. Doesn't mean it can't work out. Those things work out all the time. I'd play it a little bit cool, and I'd really want to hear something that makes sense, you know, to you. Especially, I really want to hear something that makes a lot of sense about why she let you go in the first place. But wait, oh, Andrew, so now I'm remembering, is this the one that hit you? If this is the one that hit you, I'm going to tell you, no, please do not, because that is the classic abuser's line. But I'm hoping I'm not confusing people, but I think that this is the one that hit you, and I'm going to tell you, I don't really care how positive she is. I don't think you should go back to her. But if I'm remembering wrong, then correct me and we'll talk about it next time. Oh, Tom, you're not Thomas. Okay, I still don't want the gun. Let's see. Oh, Andrew said that he agreed with what I had to say. I appreciate that. Thank you. Debbie said it's too exhausting being in a new relationship. I mean, here's the thing, Debbie. It is. It's really exhausting, and it's really a pain in the butt. And first dates can be really exciting, and they can also suck, and there's the whole waiting in between part. But, you know, it's just what's more worth it to you. If you don't, who says you have to be in a relationship? You don't. But if you want to be in one, then you have to go through the new relationship part. So you kind of have to go through the exhausting part. There's not really any way around that. Debbie, you said name calling triggers me. Well, name calling should trigger you. You know, name calling is just not acceptable. It's not necessary. You're adults. You know, I mean, I'm trying to get my kids past that. It's just, it's not something that should be happening. So like I said at the beginning when I was talking about triggering, sometimes things trigger you for a reason and they should be triggering you. Sometimes they're telling you, this is happening to you again. Don't let this keep happening to you. So yeah, for sure. If somebody's calling you names, if guys calling you names, bye-bye. Like, that's not even, like, no, it's just not acceptable. No, you're adults. Okay. Let me see if there's anything else really quick. Well, I mean, there's a lot of people saying hi and being nice, but I think, you know, it's getting to be late, and so I'm going to sign off and say goodnight. But thank you all for being here and for being so active and supportive of each other and asking me all those questions. And, you know, one more time, my email is Arianna, ARIANNA at YourTango.com if you want to ask me anything in advance for next time or expand on anything and talk about it more. When I'm here next week, I'll be back again, same time, same bat channel, since it's a DC kind of a day. So Sundays at 7:15 p.m. Pacific and 10:15 p.m. Eastern. And then Tuesday and Thursday is Becca After Dark at the same time. And Wednesday is Joanna talking about all kinds of good feminist stuff. So thank you for joining me, and I'll see you guys next week. Bring your friends. Bye.